Hey friends, today we are working on a Yamaha XS400. Just tuned the carbs up on this one. Not much to it. It's good to have a vacuum gauge set. If you don't have one, they're like 50 to 80 bucks on Amazon. Not much to it. And basically all you do to get at all this, to make it all easier, is take your seat off, two screws in here. You open this compartment in the back with your key. This is a 1983 XS400, I believe. Open it up, two screws in there, pull your seat off. Once you pull your seat off, the gas tank is just locked in here by this, in that. And once you have your seat off, you just pull it up and pull it back. You're going to have two lines on there. Your vacuum line for your petcock that opens your fuel valve once the engine's running or cranking or whatever. And then, of course, your main fuel line, as you can see over here. And you'll notice it says you got your fuel, of course. You've got on the bottom, and then PRI, which is prime, and then you've got reserve on top there. And they don't have a fuel off, but as you can see, it's on, and the fuel is off. Now, if there was vacuum on that hose there, then it would be pouring here, or if you put it on prime. So if the bike hasn't ran for a while, or your carbs are empty and you just want to prime them when you first put the tank on, you'd put it on prime for a few seconds to fill the fuel bowls up, and then you'd try to start it, and then of course your fuel line goes on here. So that line right there, that little hose, goes on here as your vacuum line, and the other side just has a cap like that you can see. I've got this one on already, and that is just to synchronize your carbs. And you want to make sure that when it's running, they're both very close to each other once you get the carbs cleaned. Of course, it's pretty easy to get the carbs off. You just take your clamps off here, those clamps there, and then these in the back here, of course. I don't know if there's anything special to loosening the airbox. I think it just sits in there, honestly. That's how mine was anyway. And then once you've loosened them in the back, you can actually pull the airbox back a little bit to aid in pulling the carbs out. I think you can pull them out either side. You're going to have to compress the rubber here to get them out, but it's not super hard to do. And then, like I said, your vacuum line for your petcock goes on there. And then, of course, when you're doing your test, your vacuum line for your gauges goes on there. And like I said, once you get it running, I just used a little funnel. I stuck it in there for my fuel. If you don't have a little funnel, maybe you can mount your gas tank on there somehow to where you can still access your screws, because that is where your air fuel screws are, right there. Come on, there you go. Just a flathead in there, and a flathead down in there. Let's see if I can. No, I guess I can't turn on. Oh, maybe I can. There we go. There you go. Flathead brass down in there. Be careful with them. If you over tighten them, they will seize in there and they will break inside. I actually had that happen on my other Virago. That one's fine, but I've got another Virago outside over there, as you can see. And it's got like 1,000 original miles on it, and I was an idiot and over tightened the needle. I didn't realize that it was tight already, and I snapped that screw, the jet inside there. So don't do that. But anyway, once you get this carb cleaned up, of course, pretty simple. There's not much to it. There's I think, of course, your idle and your pilot jet. Make sure they're open. If you've got your jets plugged, just look at the sun. Lots of light there, right? Try to look through your jets. If you find your jets are plugged and you can't open them, maybe you've got a wire brush or a bench like that. Cut you one of these off, and that will fit in that jet, and keep fiddling around in the jet until you open it up. That's what I did in this case. Make sure you got carb cleaner, of course, because if you don't, then you're going to have a problem potentially cleaning it. I mean, I think I've used brake clean, but I don't know how safe that is. And anyway, once you got your carbs cleaned up, make sure you clean your floats and stuff. Make sure you've got gaskets and such. I've tried a little bit of gasket maker when I don't have floats on bikes I don't really care about, and I've had luck. I just use Right Stuff silicone. If you happen to have any of that stuff, I think I've got a bunch back here, actually, just like that. But it specifically says on there, not for contact with gasoline. So well, that's exactly what is happening here. And yeah, like I said, I wouldn't recommend that. But anyway, gasket. Usually these rebuild kits are cheap on Amazon. Might as well change it all out while you're in there, Amazon or eBay. I actually couldn't find one for this one on Amazon, but wasn't too worried about it. Just wanted to see if it would work first. Maybe I'll buy another one later. Anyway, I found one of these cylinders wasn't running. One way to test it, of course, is if you do get it running, once you clean the carbs, put it all back together, fill your carbs up with fuel. Like I said, I just use a little funnel from over there. And you got everything else, of course. Before you take your carbs off, you got to take your throttle cable off here, and that's easy. This one you just pull up and out, and then out there. And this one, you just loosen that little Phillips right there. Then you pull your choke out same way. Very, very simple. Not much to it. Of course, this is your idle screw there. Once you get it all cleaned up, filled with fuel again, then you want to see if you can get it idling. And once you can get it idling, you might have to, increase your idle screw. And you shouldn't have to choke it once you've just cleaned it in a, in a fairly warm environment, 60 or degrees or better anyway. And then of course, I believe this is what they just call your air fuel screws in there. And mine wasn't running on this cylinder, so I just started backing that one out until it started popping, and then it started running on this one. If you're not sure if it's running on one, if you get it idling, then shut it off, pull a spark plug off, and see if it'll still idle the same. If it doesn't idle at all, well then you know it's probably only running on that one cylinder that you just took the plug off. And if it idles worse, then you know it probably was running fine on both cylinders, and if it still idles the same, then you know it wasn't firing at all on that cylinder. So anyway, this video is just a big mix-up of things, but if anybody happened to have specific questions, maybe I answered them in this video, and if not, feel free to leave me a comment as always. Even if my video is useless, I usually respond fairly quick, and if you have a question that I can answer, I'll definitely do my best to do so. This, of course, is your fuel line, obviously, and then, of course, like I said, your vacuum line for your petcock goes on this one. This little cap goes on the other one, and the tools you need for this are very few, actually. It's just a flat screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, really, and I mean, I use the 5/8 socket to pull the spark plug out to check it, but that's literally all I've done so far. And then, of course, your vacuum gauges. If you don't have a vacuum gauge, then all you can do is try to adjust individually each one until you get it to run good. That's the best advice I've got for you, but these should both be when you're doing vacuum gauges. When you've got vacuum gauges and you're synchronizing your carbs, you want them to both be very close to each other while it's idling. And then once you've got that idle figured out, that you would probably do with that screw down there, I would think. And then once you've got that figured out, then you rev it up to, I don't know, maybe you've got a throttle lock. If not, maybe you can increase the throttle enough here to get it to idle up high. You'd want to do probably 4,000 or better anyway. And then you would probably adjust it here until you get these synchronized right close to each other. They should be pretty much exactly even on both of them. They'll probably be around 20 or so, 21.19, somewhere in that range. And yeah, like I said, I know this video is a mess and I apologize. I just figured, you know what, I'm in here now. This was an easy one, but you never know. I've had lots of searches where I just wanted a quick video and I couldn't find anything. So this, of course, is your choke, obviously. Make sure that's free, moving freely, and make sure you adjust it properly. And again, to synchronize at idle, I think is that one. I could be wrong about that. You might have to use that to synchronize. You might try that to synchronize at higher RPMs too. But like I said, if you find one carb's not getting enough fuel or air, then that's what these screws are for. So anyway, there's a rambling video. Hope this video helps somebody. And again, if you have any questions or anything, even if you hate the video, but you have questions you can't find online, feel free to leave me a comment. Maybe I can help you, maybe I can't. But as always, hope this video helps somebody, and may God bless you.